Alright. Thanks for having me. Tonight I'm going to turn a box and talk about the techniques I use while turning a box. There's many ways to create a box. A box basically has sidewalls, a bottom, and a lid. You can do turn boxes, flatwork boxes, a wide variety of boxes. This is the box I did today, just for practice. This is the box that I will be demoing throughout the demo. Whenever I turn boxes, I always try to accent them with some sort of accent color to give it a color contrast. So I do pens, I do a wide variety of turning, but whenever I cut off my pen cutoffs, I always keep the cutoffs and the scrap pieces because that is what I use to create the top jewels or the top finials or the top color contrasting wood that goes on top of the box. Usually acts as a knob or a pull to open the box. I find when I do boxes, the only time I do a box with a really tight fit is when it is going to be kept in someone's pocket or you keep something in it. You want it to stay tight. For the most part, the boxes I sell, I find majority of my clientele that buy boxes are women. They keep jewelry, trinkets, small little things in them. So they're not going to want to fight with a really sticky fit. So for the most part, all my boxes, you can pull the top off quite easily. Starting with safety, whenever I turn, I always wear safety glasses and earplugs. A lot of turners throughout the years from the chatter of the wood, they go deaf over time. So I try to keep my hearing, even though sometimes I don't want to listen to people bickering at me, but it's nice to have my hearing. This is some of the wood that I got from Carrie's place. It was a 4x4 piece of maple, probably about 10 feet long, so I got probably 12 different box blanks out of it. Most of them I cut to 6 inches. I find that's a good height to start with. You can always modify your box or your design as you go. Of course, if you get a catch or a dig, it's a design option. You can now modify your design of your box. There's many types of boxes. You can do single boxes with a single lid. You can do towering boxes where this will be 2 boxes in one. The lid will be the middle, the top will be another middle, or the top will be the top, the middle will be a box, and the bottom will be a box. So try to use your imagination. You can do anything with it, really. So with the wood I got from Carrie's, I cut a majority of them to 6 inch, some of them to 7 inch, and some of them to 8 inch. So this will be a 2-in-1 box, this will be a 3-in-1 box, and the 6 inch ones will be a single box. When you start, you always want to start by finding the centers of your box. It will make your life a lot easier. I just need a pen. Can I borrow your pen? Thanks. You always want to find your centers of your wood. You can cut it perfectly square. This just happened to not be exactly perfectly square. But it doesn't really matter if it's off slightly because you're going to turn it round and then it's going to be perfectly round, and all you really need to worry about is your connection on the top of your box. I go around all 4 sides and then I eyeball the center, just in case your square is slightly off, not exactly square.
Hey,
Yes?
could you ask your videographer to sit down so we can maybe see a little better?
Just look at the screen. Look at the screen.
Yeah?
He's got another camera there, but specifically on that, if he were to sit down.
You'd be able to see easier?
Yeah.
It's a bit more.
It's up
You can see
to,
the camera then.
That's why we got 3 TVs.
yeah. Whatever you have to do.
Can't see
Um,
standing.
Once I find my center of my box, I'm going to find the center of the 4 lines because apparently the piece of wood wasn't exactly square. That's why I do the 4 sides, and then I eyeball my exact center. I also hit it once or twice with this. This allows your live center and your live center and your spur drive to find that center exactly. You can eyeball it, but I'm just going from square one. Some things I do might be basic, some things might be advanced, but any questions, feel free and I will explain it. Once you found your centers, you've made your eye holes, this sits perfectly in the spur drive. This fits perfectly in your live center. Lock that in place. Tighten the piece of wood. You want a really good bite to drive your wood. You don't want any chance of it coming flying out of the off the lathe. I didn't bring the catcher's mitt today, so you'll be going bare hand. Once you have your piece of wood mounted, center is found, mounted, adjust your tool rest. Your tool rest you want to be sitting below center, so your roughing gouge is sitting at center. Before you start the lathe, always turn the wood. Make sure you're not going to hit the tool rest, because if that wood hits that tool rest, it's bouncing right in my face, or it's going that way. Always have enough ample lighting. This I will only really be using when I'm doing the inside of my box. Alright, I've checked that. Always turn your lathe down to the lowest speed, just in case this is out of balance. You don't want it starting up right at 3,000 RPMs, your lathe shaking into your lap, or this coming flying off the lathe. Any questions so far?
You have an array of boxes here,
Yes.
and you talked about the double and the triple and the single, and then you pulled the cap off of one.
Yep.
And is it ever done when you're turning those boxes that you screw the top on, or that can't be done with a lathe, or?
It can be done with a lathe. You can thread the inside.
That's what I mean, thread, yeah.
Yeah, you can thread the inside here, and you thread your... With a box, you always need a male and a female connection that connect. You can always thread both connections, so then you can screw your lid on and off. I don't have a threader, or a thread chaser, I don't know what it's called. But I don't have one right now, I haven't bought one. But a way to get around that is you can buy containers of your own. For instance, this container is from the dollar store, cost me $1. The lid is plastic. The only thing I did was turn the inside diameter to the outer diameter of this container. It had a little lip right under the lid, so I had to create a small crevice for the inside profile, then that lip to sit on. Once I did that, I made sure that the depth was perfect so they would both fit together. And then gluing them, I made sure that I glued them so the threads and the grain would match and line up. In gluing, I would glue one first, put a 10-pound weight on it, so as the epoxy is drying and heating up, it's not going to push my container out of where it needs to be. Once I do that, I will screw the lid on here. I will put epoxy in the wood part, the wood face, and then I would screw the lid on, make sure that the grain is lined up, and I would now sit this in a jig that holds this like this, and I put a 10-pound weight on top of here to make sure that my connection and everything lines up perfectly. Eventually I will get one of those threading machines and thread the wood. Whenever you're doing that, using a threading machine, you have to use hardwood. If you don't use a hardwood, you'll strip the threads off and it's pointless. Does that answer your question?
Perfect.
Okay, thanks. Okay, you have it mounted, you have it solid, you check that it's not going to hit your tool wrist, earplugs in, safety glasses on. Start your lathe off slow, and then you can turn it up to whatever speed you are comfortable with turning. I usually turn 1800 RPM to 2500 RPM, depending on what I'm doing. But I don't want to fill the whole side of this room with wood chips, so I'll turn about 1400 RPM. For the outside profile of the box, I always use a roughing gouge. Whenever you go to use a roughing gouge, you always want to ABC. Anchor the tool, ride the bevel, and then initiate When I'm turning, I always hold the tool right close to my body for stability. At the right angle that the bevel is rubbing, I use my left hand to secure that tool to the tool rest. And I do what they call is the turner's dance. If you're constantly moving your arms back and forth like this, you have a lot of inconsistencies, moving the tool side to side, forward and backwards. You won't get a good, consistent cut, and there's more working against you that can give you a catch if you move slightly to the wrong way or jam it into the wood. This, the tool stays in the exact same spot. I give you a nice square flat plane that you're cutting.
Are you rocking the chisel at all, or same cutting point the whole time?
No, I'm keeping it in the same position at the whole time. If it does get dull in the center, I would rock it over to one side and use that. Rock it over to the other side. Use all 3 points before I sharpen that tool. When I'm roughing, I'm just really roughing it quick. I'm not worried about the finished product just yet. It is quite rough. You just want to get these pieces down as fast as you can. Can you still hear me talking as the tool is hitting the wood? Okay, perfect. You can either shut down to check to make sure the wood is round, or you can take your tool and lie it on top. If it's bouncing around, you know the wood is not round. If it's slowly moving, you know that the wood is round. I did have a flat spot in the center here that I'm just going to take out. My final pass, I would go really slow, and I'm taking a very light cut, and that is going to diminish the amount of sanding I have to do. Who likes sanding? I don't like sanding. So I want to minimize the amount of sanding I do. Once I have the piece fully round, I want to square off the edges and create 2 tenons or spigots, because I have to hold that wood as I do the inside and the lid connections. So for that, I would use a parting tool. You can also use a skew if you don't have a parting tool. Using the parting tool, anchor